Well, Art Taylor, we're so happy to have you to prepare for a North Carolina Bookwatch program about your new book, On the Road with Dell and Louise. Mm-hmm. But as we were talking, we were reminiscent about our visit to Bouchercon, and you told us about something else that went on there as a part of the program, collecting stories by a whole group of great mystery writers.
Yeah, it was terrific. You know, Bouchercon's a World Mystery Convention, and for the last couple of years, they've helped to produce an original anthology of works to present at the conference. This was the first time Bouchercon has been in the American South at all, and so having Raleigh host that was a big deal in this 40-some years. I was very pleased to be invited to be part of the process of selecting stories for the anthology. We had guests of honor, including Margaret Maron, Tom Franklin, Ron Rash, some big names generally, certainly big names for North Carolina literature as well there, to contribute stories as well. And then invited blind submissions. We had about 180 submissions of stories.
A blind submission, just...
Sure.
It's a contest.
Like a contest, and invite writers to send it in. They're all read blind, a first round of readers.
Now, you explain to us what read blind means.
Read blind means they don't have the names on them. And so they submit it anonymously. That way no one along the judging line knows who they are. And folks at the Wake County Public Library System helped to narrow that down. They're the beneficiaries.
They were the first blind readers.
They were the first blind readers, and also the beneficiary of this. It is a fundraiser. They narrowed that down to about 27 stories. I read those, narrowed it down to about 12, and could not be happier. It's so great to be able to celebrate great writers and bring this kind of writing to readers. And among that group, possibly because of Bouchercon being set in Raleigh, we had a lot of submissions from the North Carolina writing community. And several of those made it along the way. We've got writers like J.D. Allen, who's in Raleigh. We have Tony Goodyear in there. And those names may not be as well known as Margaret Maron's or Sarah Shaver's or Ron Rash's, but they are certainly holding their own in this anthology and among, I think, the finest stories that are in there. Tony Goodyear's story, for example, is called Down Home, and it's got Andy Griffith.
Well, it's a fiction, and
it's fiction, and it's got the spirit of Andy Griffith as Andy Taylor trying to arrest this older woman, and she's apparently struggling with a little bit of dementia, and Andy Taylor keeps showing up to arrest her. But as the story gets deeper and deeper, it is certainly more complex and one of the most poignant tales in the book. So what starts out comic takes a couple of turns that you won't expect.
Well, another favorite that you as the blind judge?
Sure. This is not one of the blind submissions, but Margaret Maron is the first story in the book. And I do want to call attention to that. Margaret started as a short story writer early in her career before beginning this stretch of award-winning novel she had. So when I asked her for a story, she said, I've got one that's experimental. It is all dialogue. No dialogue, no he said, she said, no indication of who's speaking. It changes speakers in there. I don't know if it works. She turned it in. It did work. It worked very well. And what's exciting about that is seeing a veteran writer like this still trying some new things, still being experimental. And so that's the first story in the book. It starts out with Hello. The last story in the book, which is by Robert Lopresti, not a North Carolina writer, but a fine short story writer, ends with a little bit of a happy ending. Those bookend the book, and along the way you've got a traditional whodunit, a detective tale, a serial killer, you've got a little bit of comedy, you've got a little bit of tragedy, you've got some darker stories, and hopefully along the way it represents the everything in the mystery genre. I was about to say under the umbrella, but instead with Murder Under the Oaks, I'm going to say under the full oak canopy of the mystery, the full range of tones and approaches that you can find there.
Well, that's right, but this was done for the Bouchercon convention of mystery writers that we had in Raleigh in the fall. But now, what about the new talks? Can the rest of us get it? Is it for sale anywhere?
You can. I know there's some independent bookstores that have been carrying it. You can certainly get it on Amazon as well for order. The publisher is Down and Out Books. They're based in Florida, but have a real strong reputation in the crime fiction community and still some books on hand to get.
Well, Art Taylor, thanks for coming to tell us about Murder Under the Oaks, and especially thanks for looking forward with us to a Bookwatch program based on the Road with Dell and Louise.
Oh, thank you.